Good evening. We are back to the study of the Spirit's book, Book 2, Chapter 7, Return to the Corporeal World. Sorry. And we are on the last item, which is forgetfulness of the past. I think Philip is not with us today. Paco, can you read for us?
Unmute. Forgetfulness of the past. Why does an incarnate spirit forget its past? Human beings cannot and must not know everything. God, out of divine wisdom, has willed this to be so. Without the veil that hides things from our view, we would be overwhelmed, like someone who suddenly goes from darkness to light. By forgetting our past, we're able to be ourselves more fully. Wow, explain that.
This is a classic question for those that come to Spiritism, that learns about reincarnation, or even those that do not want to accept the concept of reincarnation. One of the main points of not accepting reincarnation is, if we have lived several lives, why don't we remember them? And that's an obvious question, right? That people ask. And the spirits here talk to us about the eternal laws. If we cannot forget the past, if we cannot remember the past, and God's law or the natural law is perfect, there has to be a reason for us not to remember the past. The Spirit says to us that God, out of divine wisdom, has willed this to be so. The explanation, the simple explanation is really that we already struggle with some mistakes we made on the present life. If we start remembering everything that we were and all the mistakes we made on our previous existences, remembering that we are always progressing, so the version of ourselves today is the best ever version of ourselves. We were never better before. So, knowing our own limitations and our own problems with this present incarnation, previous incarnations will normally have worse actions that we have performed than the present one. And what people, and we will see this later, what people forget is, if you are able to remember your past, everyone would be able to remember their past. So that would create, really, at our level of evolution, chaos. Because how can you face a simple example, let's say your brother in this present life, if 2 lives ago your brother killed you or robbed you or caused harm that you are still struggling to recover, we wouldn't be able to face this brother and forgive him. So in that sense, we have to reflect the necessity of forgetting the past, the importance of starting the reincarnation with a clean slate. Of course, we are going to have who we are, our tendencies, our moral qualities. They are all a construction of our previous existences. But the remembrance, it would do us much more harm than good. And of course, the natural law, God's law, is for us, is to protect us and to help us grow. So if we cannot remember the past, it's because God's law knows that by remembering our past, we would be in much more difficult situation than we are. I think this subject is very interesting, and I brought a couple of messages from Emmanuel that if we have time, we'll read in the end of this discussion. Okay, that Emmanuel explains in 2-3 different messages the necessity and the importance of the forgetfulness of the past. Okay.
I just want to mention that after you explain this lines, then I fully grasp. But initially, when it goes, can you roll it up back again? When it says that we fully by forgetting our past, we're able to be ourselves more fully, and I would add to that, in the current life.
Yes.
Exactly. But that I got after you did explain it. You understand what I'm saying? You know how I am with my words. But after you explained it to us, then I said, oh, now I get it. By forgetting our past, we're able to be ourselves more fully in the current one.
Yes, exactly. Because otherwise, if you
Exactly.
remember your previous existence, you wouldn't be Paco. You would be Paco, Luis, Albert,
Yeah, it would impede. Yeah, definitely.
right?
Good breakdown. No, good breakdown indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
How can human beings be held accountable for their actions and atone for their faults when they have absolutely no recollection of them? How can they profit from the experience acquiring lives that they have forgotten? The trials and tribulations of life could teach them some sort of lesson if they remembered the behavior that has brought them upon them. If they forgot everything, each new existence is like the first, and they must start from scratch. How can these be reconciled with the justice of God? With each new existence, human beings become more intelligent and better able to distinguish between good and bad. If they remembered their entire past, what would the merit be? When spirits re-enter the original life, the spirit life, their entire past unfurls before them. They see the faults that they have committed, the cause of all the suffering, and they also see what would have prevented these faults. They understand the justice of the situation, and they seek a new existence to repair the mistakes of the most recent life. They ask for new trials equivalent to those in which they have failed, or that they feel will likely aid their advancement. They ask superior spirits to support them in the new tasks that they are about to undertake, because they know that their guides will strive to help them shed their faults by giving them sort of intuition of those they have committed in the past. This intuition is the foul thought that often tempts you and that you instinctively resist. While you attribute this resistance to the principles you have learned from your parents, it is actually due to your conscience. That voice is the recollection of your past, warning you not to be ensnared by the same traps into which you have already fallen. Those who undergo the trials of a new existence with strength and courage and resist the temptation to do wrong rise in the spirit hierarchy to a higher ranking, which they will assume upon their return. While we do not precisely recall who we have been and the good or bad that we have done in our past life, we have the intuition of our past and the instinctive predispositions that our conscience wants us to resist. Our conscience is the desire we have conceived to avoid repeating our past faults in the future.
Okay.
That's tell me in English, but that's a definition of conscience. Yeah, very good.
There's
The question is brilliant.
Yeah, the question. Yeah, we were reading the question. I was thinking of how wise Kardec was, right? Because by following up the last question with this, is really, how can human beings be held accountable for their actions and atone for their faults when they don't remember? How they can profit from the experience, right? If they forgot. If they forget everything, we must start from scratch. And then he asks how this can be reconciled with the justice of God. The answer from the spirits, we have to divide in parts here, because as we grow and evolve, we are evolving morally, and the moral evolvement is always with us. That the spirits don't tell us, but in this answer, but we learn from the spirits also. What is our intellectual abilities may be restricted as we study in very recent classes. But when we go back to the spiritual world, the Spirit says that our entire past unfolds before us. It is not. It's not exactly like that, because it's the spirit world. We have a better view of ourselves as individual spirits, fully free from the restrictions of the physical body. But our recollection of previous existences is not something that presents to us immediately. It presents to us on a need-to-know basis, right? So we are going to see and remember what is important for our progress. Because, again, we don't remember when we were 1 year old, right? There are very few people that remember. It's the exception of the exception. The other day, I read someone saying that he remembers when he was born. And this is something that, yeah, that's very rare. I mean, nothing is impossible, but for me, it's hard to believe.
Not with the memory of the brain.
Yeah.
That spiritual remembrance is possible, but not with the brain.
So in the same way, right, it doesn't make sense for us to remember when we were primitive beings living in the jungle. There's nothing important for us to remember of that phase, right? Now, of course, when you go back to the spiritual world, and we have this very difficult relationship with this brother that I mentioned in the past question, and we go back to the spiritual world, having made some progress on the relationship, even if we haven't fully repaired, we may be able to see the reasons why we had a difficult relationship. We may remember as a flash of the past what happened between me and my brother, that I have such a difficult relationship. But it's not that we are going to remember each life and each situation. And again, we just have to think about our present life. If I ask you what you were doing when you were 24 years old and 1 month, nobody, you may have an idea. When I was 24, I had recently graduated, so I was probably working. So that's all, right? Or exactly. Only if something very special, very traumatic or rewarding happened exactly in that date, you remember. But if it's a general middle of a life question, so applying that to us going back to the spiritual world, you understand that we won't remember also in the spiritual world our previous existences. What we remember is this existence. So you go back to the spiritual world, you remember like you remember today, with the same abilities that you remember today, maybe a little better because you were free from the physical body, your recent existence. But more than that will be on a need-to-know basis. Now, the spirits tell us we bring an intuition. We bring a vague remembrance of the problems as we prepare for a new life and we ask for some challenges. We bring with us the intuition of the necessity to overcome that challenge, because if you have an imperfection and you need to face the situation to see if you have overcome that imperfection. Until you face the situation that led you to fall, you won't be able to, if you learn how to overcome. So the intuition that we bring with us is that we shouldn't be doing that, because something tells me that this is not good for me. I don't know what's this something, and it's probably something that I bring from a previous existence. Does not mean that I'm going to resist. Maybe I'm going to fail again, because we keep failing and keep making our lives more difficult than they should be, because of our lack of effort to overcome the challenges in front of us. But we need to learn as a new lesson to overcome the challenges. We bring the intuition. It is in our conscience. Again, we are eternal spirits. Everything that we have done is printed in our conscience. We, the eternal spirit, but it's not brought to the physical body completely, and out of necessity, we'll have some access to what we need. Like Kardec says here in the comment, we have the intuition of our past and the instinctive predisposition that our conscience warns us to resist. So it is with us, within all of us, the intuition to resist and things like that. We learn as we evolve to differentiate between good and evil. And in learning how to differentiate, we are going to learn to make better choices for ourselves. Again, new experiences where we have no recollection and it's not an atonement, it's a learning experience, then we have to go and do it. We won't have the intuition of not doing it, right? Because we need to be exposed to new opportunities to grow, new challenges, new opportunities. If we are going to face that situation, let's say you go through a disease that will help you re-evaluate your life, will help you grow. The way you face the disease is what tells you that you are growing. That disease may have nothing to do with your past. It may be an opportunity for you to reevaluate things and learn from it and grow. So in that sense, that I'm saying that when it's new things that we have to learn from, the intuition won't play a role there in telling us not to go through it unless it's something that can cause us harm. But many times we are afraid of trying new things when we should be trying new things, because that's the way to grow. Okay.
Let me see if I understood this correctly, because I'm kind of,
Confused.
This is not English for me. It seems that even though I may not be able to remember or recall the details of my past life, somehow the lessons that I was about to learn within those details are somehow etched into me as a potential manifestation to learning and that becomes my conscience. So my conscience is basically the cumulative. That's what I'm making myself. I'm thinking out loud at the same time. The conscious, the cumulative lessons or moral development that I was about to grow or to entertain in the past, but I couldn't somehow, and it's bringing it up in this current life and the subsequent life, in order for me to grow.
Yes.
Am I making sense a little bit? Or you understand what I'm saying? Like
You I understand, but yes, you are the accumulation of all your previous existences. It's you, the eternal spirit. Your conscience has all the moral advancements that you have achieved. So your understanding of good and bad, good choices and bad choices, this is not something that you don't bring to this life. You bring to this life the moral evolvement that you have, and with that, the ability of making better choices than you make in a previous existence. Now, the situations where you have failed in the past will show up. If you have failed and you haven't learned from it yet, you will show as new opportunities for you to make the same, not to make the same bad choice, to make the right choice. So that, yes, it's in your conscience.
So that there's a legacy from that previous experience that is here now that will help me deal with the current one.
Yes,
If I
absolutely.
was greedy and I couldn't deal with the greediness at that point in time. Somehow that experience itself got into my conscience and I brought it here now. I'm
Yeah.
in my much better. And so the conscience is nudging me. Listen, Paco. Listen, don't do the same thing that you did in your previous lives. So conscience is a cumulative remembrance of lessons that I needed to learn or that I need to learn.
Yeah. For example, you had power in the past. I was going to talk about money, but let's talk about power.
Yeah.
You were powerful. You were a ruler of something, right? A farm, a state, a small city, whatever, and you abused your power. You made people suffer. You caused harm. You abused. So you go back to the spiritual world, you look back and you regret. You said, man, I abused my power. I shouldn't have done that. You spend there years in the spiritual world preparing yourself to be a better person in your new opportunity. You have to face the opportunity again. You are going to have power again. The power can be a completely different one. You can be the owner of a factory, the owner of or the town council person. You have some power, and your conscience, when you have to make decisions that may harm other people, your conscience should tell you you shouldn't do that. The intuition will tell you I shouldn't do that. But sometimes, and many times, we fail to listen to our intuition because the temptation is too big for us. And we end up committing the same mistakes again, especially in regards to money, for instance, right? Accumulation of wealth. It's a very difficult challenge to resist. So, but yes, I remember a lecture a long time ago of someone that said that someone that killed 50 people in a previous incarnation and his life killed 2 people only, it's progressing, right? It's a progress. Resistant killing more people, and you can look at him and say, this is an assassin, kill two people, and that's an evil spirit. Yes, but in the previous existence he killed 50, so it's progress. It's hard for us to see that, but again, he will have resisted killing more and couldn't resist killing 2. This is the type of challenges that we are going to face. Again, repentance is not enough. We need to face the situation again to be able to overcome, to be able to be sure that we overcame the challenge, right? And we talk about addicts, right? How do you know if you overcome the addiction? When you are exposed to the drug, to the drink, and you don't feel the necessity to use it again or to drink it again. If you still feel it, you are fighting still to overcome, but you haven't completely overcome yet. It's already a progress. If you are resisting, it's a huge progress.
That is a huge, yes.
Huge,
Yes.
more than most people can do.
Yes.
But you only know that you overcome completely when someone presents it to you and you have no desire to drink or to use it or whatever it is. Okay. No.
Yeah, I think your conscience in this present life that you are very conscious of it will express all the moral values that you have conquered. But you don't know the experience that led you to conquer those values. You're not going to remember that. Why now I am patient? What happened in the past that now I am patient? You're not going to remember, but now you are patient, period.
Period.
Okay? And your conscience will lead you to try to resolve unresolved issues, like the problem with the power. Your conscience will invite you continuously to seek power in order to exercise it properly in accordance with the divine laws. Will you succeed or not is a different case. But also, you may be prevented to have any power because you're not going to succeed. On the contrary, you're going to be subordinated to a tyrant to experience why it's not such a good idea to be a tyrant. So there is many possibilities. But we see this intuitive or perhaps subconscious remembrance of the past, many experiences. The sympathy and antipathy that we have towards individuals with no cause in this that you can put your fingers on in this present life. The agreeable or disagreeable sensations that you have in different places that have been there for the first time, have no reason to like or dislike those places. There's many experiences, relationships that are supposed to have everything to be successful, but for some reason, it's a difficult relationship that you have to really struggle, and your subconscious will lead you to struggle when try to make it work. There's a likelihood, if it's not for this, if you don't find a cause, reasonable cause in this present life, it will be from the past, because there is a cause to everything.
You're having trouble listening to Elmo here? Let me see if the microphone is... No, it's correct. Okay. I see people leaning on to hear, to listen. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
Can repeat what I remember.
Danny?
So the consciousness is the corrector factor, or
I like that word.
his memory could be just the mistake all over again, that I'm remembering it.
The corrector.
In my mind, I don't know if I'm asking it clearly.
The corrector is the action that you take. And it's what leads you to take action.
Or not.
Or not. No, the conscience will lead you to take action, but will you neglect, ignore your conscience or not?
Yeah, I think you're right what you said, Danny. The conscious is the one.
Corrector. I like that.
Corrector, yes. I think it's yeah. It's not a memory because you don't remember, right? So going back to the power, right? I have an opportunity to be the mayor of this town, and I'm really willing to do. Though I don't remember that I abused my power in the previous existence.
The details, yeah.
But I want to be, because instinctively I know that I have to make repairs from the past. How I'm going to behave once I become mayor, then it becomes, our free will using the the moral qualities that I already achieved or that I thought that I had, but in reality I haven't yet, right? If you fail to use it properly when you have again the same opportunity, means that you're still not able to overcome that imperfection. Okay.
But we have to also remember that the fact that we do have the conscience doesn't mean that you are going to go out and implement whatever the conscience tells, because you still have free will.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Free will is the one, the conscience will be the corrector, and the free will be the implementer.
Yes.
If I could use coin that word. Okay.
Yeah. You have free will to do or not to do. Sometimes you should have done something, and your free will, you decide not to do, and you missed an opportunity. Sometimes you are going to do something you shouldn't do, and again, you missed an opportunity again. So it's free will is very important, and we're going to talk about it later in this chapter.
Very good discussion, by the way. I think it's so. Thank you, Danny.
Okay, next one is a long one again.
The 94. On worlds that are more advanced than ours, where beings are not subject to all our physical needs and infirmities, do they understand that they are happier than we are? Happiness is usually relative, and it is felt in comparison with a state that is less happy. As some of those worlds have not reached perfection, despite being better than ours, their inhabitants must have their own troubles. While wealthy people here might not endure the physical poverty that tortures the poor, they're still victims to all the kinds of troubles that embitter their lives. Hence, I would ask if the inhabitants of those other worlds consider themselves to be just as unhappy according to their standard of happiness as we consider ourselves to be according to ours. Do they complain of their fate, since they do not recall their inferior lives to serve as a standard of comparison? Hmm. There are two different answers to this question. In some worlds, the inhabitants have a very clear memory of their past lives, and therefore can and do appreciate the happiness that God permits them to enjoy. However, there are others where inhabitants, despite living in better conditions than you, are still subject to great troubles and much unhappiness. They do not appreciate their lives because they have no recollection of a worse existence. Although they do not appreciate those conditions as men and women, they appreciate them as spirits. The unconsciousness of our past lives, especially when painful, is somewhat providential and reveals the divine wisdom. The recollection of our painful past life is nothing more than a fake memory of a bad dream when they are finally permitted to re-enter our memory in superior worlds. The painfulness of present suffering in lower worlds would be greatly aggravated by the memory of all the misery we may have experienced in the past. This allows us to conclude that everything that God has made is well made, and it is up to us to find fault with God's works or decide how God should regulate the universe. The memory of our past lives would present many serious disadvantages. In some cases, it would cause cruel humiliation, while in others, it might prompt pride that would hamper our free will. God has given us just what is necessary and sufficient for us to improve ourselves, the voice of our conscience and our instinctive predispositions. God keeps everything that will be a source of injury away from us. Let us add that if we preserved the memory of our former personalities and actions, we would also remember those of other people. This knowledge would have a disastrous effect on our social relations. We do not always have a reason to be proud of our past. It is better that it's hidden. This concept is in perfect harmony with the statements of spirits about the worlds that are more evolved than ours. In those worlds where moral excellence reigns, there's nothing painful in recalling the past, and the inhabitants of those happier worlds remember their past lives as we remember what we did yesterday. The visits that they may have to lower worlds are nothing more than a vague nightmare.
English again, right, Paul?
Yeah, tell me in English because it was just, I guess, too many things.
Yeah, I think Kardec asked something. He asks two different questions as the spirits.
Yes.
First, he asks about other worlds, right? More advanced than ours. What they go through there? And the spirits tells us that the more you advance, the more you are able to remember your past, because you are going to remember your previous existence as long as they help you grow and they don't cause you any harm.
Uh-huh.
When I'm ready to deal with a previous existence, going back to my brother, when we made peace with my brother, we love dearly, sincerely each other because we overcome the differences, then the remembrance of what happened to us 2 incarnations ago, it's not going to cause us any harm. So we can remember that. But until then, it's better not to remember. That's how the remembrance of previous existences work. We are going to have them on a need-to-know basis, and as we evolve, we are able to reach more of, have more access to it, because it won't bother us. Like we
Yes.
thinking of our present life, right? If you remember something stupid you did when you were 8 years old, that your mom gave you a serious timeout or whatever she did, you laugh at it today, right? It doesn't bother you that you broke the vase that she loved so much, right? You laugh at it, and at the time it happened, was a big deal. So you can remember it now, doesn't bother you. Even if your mother, if she's still alive, she remembers it, doesn't bother her also. She can say, oh, I will never forgive you, you broke the vase that I loved. But she did, because mothers will do, right? So it's like that. As we evolve and we grow morally, we are going to be able to better deal with our past. And with that, we will remember our past. So in more advanced worlds, it's only natural that we remember more of our previous existences. But then Kardec also asks about happiness, which I don't think has much to do with previous existences, right? But he talks about happiness being relative, and if these people in more evolved worlds, we remember their lives when they were less happy in less evolved worlds. And the spirits answer that, well, yes and no, right? Because when they reach a certain level of evolution, they do appreciate the happiness that they have without the necessity of comparing it to a previous unhappy existence. And they just have a comparison of their understanding of their present existence. They don't really need to go much into previous existences to appreciate the happiness. They appreciate because of their clean conscience, their evolved conscience. And then Kardec goes into an explanation of why we don't remember, and compares to a vague memory of a bad dream when we are finally remember because we are ready to deal with it. And the difficulties we would have if we remember our previous existences. He gives some very good examples, right? That in some cases it would cause humiliation, in others can, if you remember that you were the king of France in the 14th century, it may bring you a sense of pride that may not be useful, not helpful for your present incarnation. Sometimes we see people that are very proud of themselves without having any reason to be proud of themselves. It's just their personality, right? And we think to ourselves, why are these persons so proud of themselves if they don't have much to show for it? And it's probably something that comes from the previous existence when they were somehow important in the intellectual or social status that build that pride that they still carry with them, which is the present existence is a challenge to their pride, and they still are not able to overcome the challenge. So they are still showing the pride of the previous existence. And on the contrary, if we have a reason not to be proud of the past, we were serial killer in the 16th century, we have no reason to remember it. It's better to be hidden, right? I was listening to a lecture today, and someone asked about if we're moving to a world of regeneration from a world of lies, trials and atonements, or trials and expiations, if there will be no more atonements or expiations in a world of regeneration. And the speaker was saying, no, there will be atonements. Until we reach perfection, we will always have atonements, because it's a process of correcting our past lives that we have to keep working on it until we reach a level that we have nothing else to correct, that we become perfected spirit. Okay?
So to sum it up, I can say that the fact that we do not remember is basically a protective measure.
Yes. A divine law that protects us from ourselves.
Okay. And eventually there will be dimensions in which I will be able to recall those past lives, because I'll be happy, and that won't affect me, will not impede me in my progress. Okay.
Yes, you overcame the imperfection. You no longer, so once, using the example of patience that Elmo said, right? Once you become fully patient, you really become patient. You can remember your previous loss of patience experiences where you lost your patience, because you look at them as learning experience that won't bother you because you had overcome the imperfection.
Very good.
I was just about to compare with Emmanuel, like when he was 2,000 years ago to now he knows I cannot say all his previous lives, but he knows a lot of his previous lives. And now he's teaching us how to do or how not to do.
Yeah, it actually is a very good example, Emmanuel, right? Because he tells about his previous existences in 4 books, right? And of course, Emmanuel, there are 2 things here. The importance of him telling his story, because it's important for us to learn, and the evolution that he has, that he's able to deal with his previous existences in a way that he can fully access the memories, right, and recall. But again, I think that for a spirit like Emmanuel, if he wasn't going to tell the previous existence, it would be just a small part of his memory, the experience, of course. When he met Jesus, I'm sure he will remember, right? Because how can you forget that? But besides that, right? I think the meeting of Jesus probably bothered him for many lives. because it's an opportunity that if it's better for him not to remember for a certain period of time, because it's difficult to overcome the opportunity, the missed opportunity. Can you imagine? Okay.
395. Can we obtain any revelations regarding our past lives? Not always. Many persons know who they were and what they did. If they could speak freely, they would make curious revelations about the past.
So the Spirit says that some people are able to remember their past. And this question relates directly to something that is not very uncommon these days, which is the therapy of past life regression, right?
Regression, yeah.
Yeah, which, according to Spiritism, should only be used to access and to heal traumas. Shouldn't be used out of curiosity because it's dangerous. You are going to, again, because of all that we discussed here, right? If we don't remember our past lives, there is a good reason for that. If we are going to go searching for what we did in past lives, we are not going to find happy memories there. We are most likely to find difficult situations, difficult challenges. So in accessing that, if it helps cure a trauma that I have today, and it's done under proper supervision, then Spiritism says that it's okay, provided that you are doing with all the safeguards possible. So let's say you have agoraphobia, right? And you cannot get rid of it. Maybe accessing your past life will help you understand, and will help you free yourself from this phobia. So that's okay. But if you want to know why you hate your sister or your brother, and you are going to there find that your brother killed you in a very evil way 3 incarnations ago, that's not going to help you repair the problems with your brother. On the contrary, it's going to make things worse. And there is the dangers. You can come back with more hatred that you started with. Or for the risk is you going into the past and you finding an incarnation that you were relatively happy in a very nice position, and you liked it so much that you want to stay there, right? Let's say you were a part of a royal family that lived in the 17th century, and you had a very powerful, easy life there with all the imperfections that you had, but you go back and you see how fun life was there. You get stuck there. It's also something that is dangerous with past life regression.
I don't know if it's good to mention that there's a famous book, Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss, which is a psychiatrist in Miami, and he did risk his professional standing by writing that book.
And the work that he did was very important in helping people believe in past lives, in believing in reincarnation, accepting reincarnation. And he's a doctor. He knew what he was doing. He was doing it to help the patients overcome their challenges. So, we can say that probably most of his cases were valid cases. And because of the importance of the work he was doing for the concept of reincarnation to be more widely accepted, of course, he had the protection and assistance of the evolved spirits.
96. Some people believe that they have a vague memory of a unknown past. which presents itself as a fleeting image for the dream that one tries to recall and frame. Is this belief only an illusion? Sometimes it is real, but it's often an illusion that is merely the effect of an overactive imagination.
Okay, so déjà vu, right? The famous.
Oh, yeah.
Many people have déjà vu. They go to places and they feel that they have been there before, even if they have never been. They see people and that they never met before, and they look at the person and tell the person, "Oh, I have an impression that we met in the past," and the person can say the same thing or not. So it is a vague memory of an unknown past, presents itself as a fleeting image. I had my only experience with déjà vu. I had when the first time I went to Paris, the only place in the world that I arrived and I felt I was coming back to a place that I never been before. So, you know, it was really a very strong déjà vu that I had. It was the only time in my life. Nowhere else I had this feeling. So, of course, I'm sure I lived in France because I love France, I love Paris and everything with it. So it is, of course, some vague memory of something, of a nice experience that I had there. The same way people arrive at places and immediately don't like the places.
Exactly.
I had a couple of those experiences. I'm not going to name the cities and the places because I don't think it's
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I had this experience in two different places that I arrived and I had no interest in the place. I couldn't wait for the time to leave. Again, probably something related to a very difficult existence that I had in that place, country, region, whatever it is. So it is real, but as the Spirit says here, it can be merely the effect of overactive imagination, which is the same. We're going to study dreams, sleep and dreams in the next chapter. And when we talk about dreams, we are going to talk about our brain making up parts that are missing in our dreams, which are not real, are imagination. And the same thing can be with this, right? I remember that I arrive at a place, I feel that I've been there before, and then I start creating with my overactive imagination scenes from when I was in that place that have nothing to do with the reality. It's just me and my overactive imagination, as they say. So it is possible when someone starts to tell you their whole past life, you can be sure that part of it is their own imagination. Like, you know, we do this in this life, right? We tell stories from our past that they are not 100% true. We embellish things or we create passages that were not there. So the same thing happens, of course, with déjà vu and things like that. Okay. You know, I think we're going to stop here. There are 3 questions left in this chapter, and I have the passages from Emmanuel that I'm going to bring back next week. So we can, the last question is a very long one, 3 nights. So we go through these questions and we go back to the teachings by Emmanuel in 2 different books that are very interesting. Also, that talks about past lives. It's a subject that deserves a couple of study classes. Okay. All right. So what we have this weekend on Saturday we have a lecture by Marcia Trajano, if you know her from our previous live lectures from the United States Spiritist Federation. She's the moderator of the podcast series Psychology and Spirituality. And she's going to present Paths of Spiritual Evolution, where she explores the profound intersection between spiritual evolution and psychological transformation, drawing on insights from Lionel Corbett, a renowned Jungian psychologist, alongside the rich spiritual perspectives offered by Joana de Angelis, Emmanuel Leon Denis, and Allan Kardec. So this Saturday, 11 a.m., Paths of Spiritual Evolution. This Sunday, which is the last Sunday of the month, we are going to have our Q&A session. Please bring your questions so we can have a good discussion. The book club is finishing Paul and Stephen are on chapter 8. Studying chapter 8, that's Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And I think that's it for us here. Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Yes, thank you very much, John, and thank you, Elmo. Paco, thank you for reading for us this evening and everyone here participating. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we give thanks to be together again as brothers and sisters for our studies of the Spirit's Book. Book 2, Chapter 7, the topic being Forgetfulness of the Past. There is a veil of forgetfulness when we return to an incarnation. This helps us to focus directly on each incarnation and the lessons that are needed for us to progress. This is the natural law created for our benefit. It would not be beneficial to recall all of our prior lives. There is intuition within the consciousness or conscience of the general lessons which we need to face and to be reconciled. We have the use of free will to avoid repeating past faults and unresolved issues. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us this evening. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, the mediums, the workers, and all participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace, and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. May we go forth now and remind ourselves to be beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.